Erica Campbell.
Tim Sohn, I missed you.
I missed you too. We're back.
Yay, yay, yay.
We're showing up.
Showing up, bring it 2023.
For sure. We hope you guys had an amazing December because we did not show up in December self-care month. And I know, Erica, you were busy, super busy over at the Pinky Swear Foundation, right?
Yes, we crushed our year-end goals. We helped more families than ever before. So yes, thank you. It was self-care and our ability to help kids with cancer and their families. Thanks, Tim.
That's awesome. Congratulations. So welcome everyone to episode number 56 of Showing Up Perspectives on Cancer, our first episode of 2023, and also our very first episode where we've had two guests on the show before. So we're excited about that. And this show, Showing Up Perspectives on Cancer, was created as a safe space where cancer patients, survivors, and supporters all come together to share their stories and connect, as well as find resources that provide healing, hope, and resilience. My name's Tim Sohn, a 16-year cancer warrior, host of Showing Up Perspectives on Cancer, and founder of Sohn Social Media Solutions. And who are you over there?
Hi, Tim. Hi, everyone. I'm Erica Campbell. I'm a 4-year breast cancer survivor. I am also leading a nonprofit helping kids with cancer and their families called the Pinky Swear Foundation. I have been a longtime cancer volunteer, and I often refer to myself as a cancer orphan after losing my mother to breast cancer nearly 20 years ago. And that actually, that anniversary of that, Tim, is coming up. She died in January of 2003. So 20 years will be coming up quite soon. So thank you for allowing me the space and allowing me to show up in her honor. So this community is so important to us. And it is all about community. So we would love to know where. Sorry, Tim?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I said that much important.
Oh, super important. Super important. And it is the first one, our first show of 2023. So we want to know, where are you joining us from? Whether you're watching this live, whether you're watching it on replay, let us know in the comments where you're from and what is your connection to cancer. Because, we just want you to feel like you belong, because you do. And also give a special shout out to someone else that you may see in the chat, whether you know them personally or not. It just is an opportunity for us to deeply create and build community and connection.
Yes, definitely. Because we're a family here, right, Erica?
Yes, 100%.
Yes, for sure. So for this show, this first show of 2023, we're doing something, like I said, a little bit different. We're having two guests on the show. We're having breast cancer survivor Ande Lunsford, as well as co-founder of the nonprofit organization Move Beyond Surviving, Dr. Kelly McLean, on the show. So first, we're going to bring Ande on the show. So here we go. Hi, Ande.
Hello. How are you?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm good.
Ande, I'm so excited to talk with you today. Personally, as you said, I'm a breast cancer survivor myself, and you and I have connected over some shared experiences. So we're going to dive right in, Ande. When were you diagnosed with breast cancer, and then what happened?
So I was diagnosed on January 6th, 2016. And of course, it was a shock. There's no history in my family. And at the time, I was training for a marathon, and I asked to have everything delayed until I ran my race. And they obliged. But as soon as I got back from the race, I started 4 rounds of chemotherapy. Then I had surgery to have a double mastectomy and my tubes and ovaries removed because I was a ER/PR positive, HER2 negative. And after the surgeries were completed, I then did 6 weeks worth of radiation. So, I was considered complete August 26th of 2016 and dealt with reconstruction ever since.
Wow. That is such a journey, Ande. What were some of the emotions that you had, certainly in the beginning?
In the beginning, it's just it's like a hurry up and wait situation. And I feel like they, like you need to have this test, you need to have this test. And the more people you tell, the more people are asking questions that you just don't have answers for. And so I kept my circle very small because I didn't know. In fact, it took me about 2 weeks before I even told family. So just because I'm a researcher, and I went into all my appointments with a binder full of every piece of information that I could find so that when the doctor said something, I knew whether it was good or bad. And, and then if they said that, what questions I needed to ask based on this. So I had sections, and I'm also HR, and I do benefits and compensation for my company. So I had a section for billing so that I knew when I hit my out of pocket. I had a section on questions. I had a section on what chemo drugs they were giving me so that I could research that. So I am a knowledge person. I need the information. And then once I felt like I had a handle on it myself, then I started telling my family, and hopefully I was able to provide the answers when they actually had questions. But of course, it's never the situation. It's an ongoing, constant flow that something's always changing. So, but yeah.
I remember, Ande, when I was first diagnosed with leukemia 16 years ago, that when I was first diagnosed, just kind of the feeling of overwhelm of having cancer, and then like so many people wanting to help and wanting to talk to you or talk to me. Did you experience that?
So my dad had been diagnosed with throat cancer the year before.
Oh, wow.
So I attended the majority of his appointments and did the exact same type of research so that I knew what to expect when the doctors were speaking. And honestly, I was more scared when he was diagnosed than me. And I know that sounds weird, but when it's yourself, it's like, you know what you can handle. But when it's a loved one, you don't want to lose them. And so I was probably 10 times more upset when he was diagnosed than I was. And I just took the approach of, you got to get through this. This is what has to be done to get it taken care of. And I've had a couple of friends who are like, well, I'm not sure if I want to do the radiation. I'm not sure if I want to do the cancer drugs afterwards. And I'm just like, my theory was, do whatever you got to do so that I never have to go through this again. And so I kept my circle very, very small just because, and here's the funny answer is I didn't want casseroles. So many people bring casseroles, and I'm just like, no, thank you. And I know they're doing it out of love. I know they're doing it out of concern, and they don't know what else to do. But I'm like, I don't want casseroles. But the more serious answer is that I did not want to be defined by cancer. And so I don't want people to look at me and be like, oh, she's a cancer survivor. That's not who I am. That was a blip in my history. I feel like I powered through. I got it done. And this is something that I can look back on and be like, hey, it wasn't fun, but you did it. So.
Right. Thanks for sharing that. So could you talk more, Ande, about what made you decide to hold back at first and keep it private at the beginning? And then we're here on a live stream today talking publicly about your story. So how did you get from that private, that place of wanting to keep your story private to sharing it publicly?
Well, once again, it's the whole not having answers and having all the questions thrown at you that you've got enough questions going on in your head and you're trying to figure out the answers and you have your own fears that you don't need other people saying, well, what if? What if? I don't need their what ifs. I had plenty of my own what ifs. So that was one of the reasons. The second, I'm just a private person. It's not that if you go to my Facebook page, it's typically something being posted because I'm tagged in it, not more like I'm out there putting my meals and everything else. So I don't put a ton of information out on my Facebook page or any type of social media. Coming out, I do believe Dr. Kelly and Tom asked me if I would be willing to do this. And it's a great organization, so I am 100% here for them. I believe so, and I wouldn't say that I know this is out here public, podcast, but I'm still not going out and shouting, I've had cancer. So
right.
When the people who do know that I experienced it, if they have friends who are going through something, they'll come to me and ask questions. We actually had a coworker who had quit, and somebody had found out through the grapevine that she had been diagnosed, and they asked me to reach out to her, and I did, and I talked with her, and we've shared quite a few emails back and forth about the journey, and she sent me an email complaining about the cancer medication after the treatment, because nobody, I think, really tells you how bad that can be sometimes. So I am willing to share my experience with people who come and have questions. But once again, I am not out there ringing my bell saying I conquered cancer. So.
Sure.
Yeah. I think what I like about that, Andy, is you're still being true to yourself and respecting your needs to, live your life, not be defined by cancer, and also, share what you want to share, but also you're being open and willing to connect with folks and to reach out to them, should they want that support. So I just want to honor you for both of those choices.
Yeah, thank you.
And you talked about marathon. So you were planning to run a marathon before you're diagnosed. Do you think you want to ever do that again?
So my goal in life, after I ran my first one, trust me, at mile 23 of my first one, I was like, this is the dumbest decision I've ever made. And then probably an hour after, my friend and I were back at our hotel, we were still laying on the bed, unmoving because it was painful, but we were like, so where's our next one? And so I kind of say it must be like having a baby. It's like you go through it, it's very painful, and then you're like, okay, should we have another? So my goal was to run 5 marathons, which I did. And then somebody convinced me to put myself in the lottery for the New York City Marathon, and I won. Wow. And I was like, I didn't win the marathon, I won the lottery.
Right.
So I'm like, let me define that. Of course, I love New York City, so I went up there and ran that one as well. And so 26 miles is hard on the body. I do think 13.1, the old half marathon, is a very nice pace. It still pushes you, and it still creates the need for training, which I think some people need that motivation of the race ahead of them to do it. Yes, I would like to. Unfortunately, a lot of the I had so many reconstruction surgeries every 6 months for 4 years that it just kept knocking me down, because you have the surgery, then you're down for 6 months or 6 weeks, and then just the building back up. And I finally just let that go to the wayside, and I started doing more walking on my treadmill, Peloton biking, and strength training. But I know it's on me. I know I have to go out there and push myself to do the training and to build that stamina back up. I just haven't got to that point yet, but I do want to.
That's impressive. Andy, I've never run a marathon, so that is impressive. You've run so many. And yeah, I've heard it's just a mental game towards
It
the
really
end,
is.
like at mile 23. So thanks for
Mhm.
sharing that.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for sharing. I've walked a half marathon and that was plenty for me. So that's amazing. A marathon I can't even imagine. So thank you everyone for showing up here today. We're here on Showing Up Perspectives on Cancer. We're here with Ande Lunsford, and in a few minutes we'll also be bringing on Dr. Kelly McLean. We're talking about Ande's story with breast cancer. She's a breast cancer survivor. And so, Ande, you've participated in several programs with the nonprofit Move Beyond Surviving. What inspired you to get involved with that organization? What's the story behind that?
So as I get ready in the mornings, I have my local news on, and I listen to it while I get ready. And one of the reporters came on and, ooh, my screen just went black. Hold on. And so they were talking about an all-day activity adventure for breast cancer survivors. And once again, breast cancer, I feel like it takes so much away from you that I was like, might as well try to get something back out of it, for good. And so it was a half day of rock wall climbing and a half day kayaking. And so that was right up my alley. I love to do things outdoors. And honestly, I knew nothing else about it when I signed up, but I was like, this sounds like fun. So I texted a friend of mine who had also just completed her journey with breast cancer. And I said, are you busy on Saturday? And she said, I'm not. So I made her sign up too. And so going up there, it was to do something fun. But what it turned out to be was a community of people who have gone through the same experiences as you, and they understand the fears that you still have. The groups are kept to 10 people or 10 participants, and so I think that really encourages getting to know each other, and it relieves the fear of talking in large groups. And so they facilitated getting to know at the very beginning. So by the time we even started walking up the path to go to the rock wall, you felt like you knew each other. And probably the biggest thing that came from the circle is that when you complete your last radiation or you have your surgery or whatever considers finished for you, people feel like you should just move on then. You're done. Cancer's over. But it's not. Your body is not the same. You don't feel the same. You're taking the cancer pills, which nobody really sees what those side effects do to you. They don't know the fear of, the return, and every pain that you have is like, oh my goodness, is it in my bones? If you have a pain in your back, oh my goodness, has it spread to my liver or my kidneys? And so this group really understood that. And I feel like you can only talk about cancer so many times with your friends before they're like, is she really bringing up cancer again? Whereas with this group, they get it. And so you're able to express your fears with people who completely understand what you're going through. And so even though it was a complete day of fun, we had a great time conquering the rock wall, jumping from the top of it. We had a huge tree swing. I don't know if you can call it a tree swing. It was more like a telephone pole, but kayaking for, the afternoon. And we had a gorgeous day for it. It was just, so the fun brought me, but that camaraderie and the understanding brought me back to the second event, which was the exact same event, which was another half day rock wall and another half day kayaking. So it's just going and hearing the other women's stories. And, some of them are champions and some of them are heartbreaking. But to be able to go and encourage the heartbreaking ones is just as exciting as, celebrating the ones who, are champions. So it's a great community. And I mean, I would encourage anyone to try to find something that would bring them the same type of peace.
Ande, that is so beautiful and moving. What do you think you learned about yourself, not only in that experience with this nonprofit, but in the journey? What did you learn about others?
So, I mean, I hate to say this, but some of the stories are just heartbreaking, and I hate to say that. It's like I look back and I was like, man, you didn't have it quite so bad. And I mean, it's a change in your perspective. And so it's like, I feel like I can say I'm a survivor. I don't feel like I have. Now, every time you go for your annual appointment, you always have that bundle of nerves, like, what are they going to find in the blood work? What are they going to say about this? But sometimes it's like, pull up your bootstraps and move on. And so, because when I hear these other stories and moms who are planning trips for their children because they're stage 4, and just there's so many more heartbreaking stories that it's like, stop throwing yourself a pity party. It's like to me, it was more about getting a new perspective. Not that I felt like I ever threw myself a pity party. I know I did a couple of times. I know I sat at home and cried, but I had the support. I had, the family, and some don't. And for them to be out there, and that's how they're finding the support, and that's what you need to be for them. So it was just such a great way to get to know other people. And, I walked away, once again, knowing it can always be worse, and to appreciate what you have ahead of you, especially what I have behind me and it's done. And to just be able to help others and to encourage.
Yeah. Ande, what I heard you say in all of that is just how much gratitude you had for yourself and for your own journey, for others. And kind of one of the phrases I hold on to is like, gratitude fixes everything. So yeah, Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for sharing, Ande. I just want to go to the comments for a minute. Lots of people are commenting and supporting you, Ande. Robert Murray is here from Alaska. Hello, Robert. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Robert.
Adasa says, you're right.
Hi, Adasa.
Thanks for being here, Adasa. Thank you for all of you who are here. You are all blowing up the comments. I know that we see you and we acknowledge you. If we're not getting to your comments right away, we appreciate you all for being here. Russ Hedge is here. Ken Dunner is here. Bobby Lee is here. Nancy Barrows is here. Brian Schulman is here. Katie Bayless is here. Marcel Presley is here. Thank you for being here. He's a previous guest. We appreciate you.
Hi,
all. Mark Kageyama is here. Cal Flores is here from Texas. She says, hola from Texas. Hola, ¿cómo estás? ¿Qué pasa? About the extent of my Spanish, even though I have a degree in it. Yeah, thank you all. So at this point, what I'd like to do is I would like to introduce you to our next guest. Kelly, are you ready? Are you good? Yes. Give me a thumbs up if you're good. You're good? Yay. Okay, cool. So we're going to bring you on and we'll continue the conversation. Here we go.
Yay.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you for agreeing to be on the show. And I have to figure out how to get rid of this comment. Okay, somebody wants a goat. Okay, anyway. Yeah, thank you.
Sweet potato cheesecake.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah, Ken Dunner said there's something about cheesecake. There was another comment that was
delectable, scrumptiously delicious, edibly tasty, good.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, here he said Andy, you don't like casseroles, but you'll love my delectable, scrumptiously, deliciously, edibly, tasty, good, homemade sweet potato cheesecake.
I will say I am a huge fan of sweet potato casserole, but how many people bring you that? I didn't want like chicken divan, which is something I grew up on. I was like,
oh my gosh.
Andy,
Well,
I laughed out loud about your casserole comment. That was funny.
That's true, though. I'm like, just give me a pizza. And that's something that I think people really need to be educated on how they can help, such as just give them a gift card to a restaurant that's close by instead of the whole, because I'm also not a potluck person. If you've got animals going across your counter, no.
Oh my gosh. All right. Great. Well, if you're watching, let us know if you like sweet potato casserole. We want to know. But we're going to talk about other cancer stuff now. We'll get back to the sweet potato casserole, though. And other people are requesting us to talk about goats also. But Dr. Kelly, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah, of course. Of course. So could you talk a little bit about what inspired you to start the nonprofit Move Beyond Surviving? And even if you want to go a little bit before that, if your story goes a little bit before that, that leads up to it.
Yeah, so just a little bit of background. Move Beyond Surviving is a nonprofit that our purpose is to get breast cancer survivors out into the outdoors to help them start moving again and reconnecting with themselves and their bodies in a safe, supportive environment to help them move from just surviving to thriving and to actually start living again. And my thoughts about developing this and interests go way back. Growing up, I loved being outdoors. I loved being physically active, doing anything that just explore and to move. And I went on some outward bound trips when I had just finished college and seriously thought about becoming an outward bound instructor, but took the route in medicine. But what I appreciated about what these trips did was it got me, one, just in touch. So nature allows you to just disconnect from the world. And it allows you to reconnect with yourself. And when you're out there, life's just super simple. It's very easy to be in the moment. It's about like getting from point A to point B. It's about shelter, staying warm, and food. And so it just breaks things down to the basics. And so I always appreciated that and what the trips did. And then as I became a surgical oncologist, we've made so many strides in helping people through cancer diagnosis. So 1 in 8 women will get breast cancer. That's a lot of people in our society. And now people are living through it. But just because you live through it doesn't mean that you come out unscathed. It doesn't mean that you're the same person that you were beforehand. Our therapies can be aggressive. They change people. Surgery moves muscles, gives you scars, changes the way that you move. Chemotherapy, the whole idea of chemo brain, it can, long after you finish the treatment, your thinking can still be cloudy. There's a drain. Technically, it can affect your mitochondria and your ability just to produce energy. So even once you've stopped, you're still tired and worn out. The endocrine therapy, so those simple pills that Andy was talking about, just drain people. Some people get joint aches on them. The biggest side effect, people gain weight. And we tell people about the importance of exercising and maintaining a healthy body mass index in order to decrease your risk of recurrence. Yet everything we've done has put people in a position where they can't move anymore, or they don't trust their ability to move. And then, of course, Andy talked about when you're going through cancer treatment, it's terrifying, but at the same time, it's very similar to PTSD. It's like the soldier that's out in fighting. Every moment, like you're just all revved up because every moment there's something to do and you don't know what the effect, what comes going to happen around the corner. And then you get done and you're elated because you can finally like breathe and there's like no new threats coming. And people pronounce you, it's like getting to come home. Like people pronounce you cured, no evidence of disease, in remission. And then there's this empty feeling where your body's been so revved up. Now there's like just an absence of anything. And then your thoughts start setting in. Then you have to come to grips with who you are now. And a lot of people just kind of flounder in this time period. They just survive. They like move from day to day. Everyone's like, you should be elated. You know, you made it through. There's no more treatments. You're cured. But you just don't feel like yourself. And you've had like a year or two of your life taken away from you and you're supposed to fit back in. And so a lot of people just get lost. And the whole goal of Move Beyond Surviving was to pull this experiential learning, this outdoors, together with breast cancer and it's cancer survivorship in general. It's just my specialty is breast, and get people to be able to reconnect with themselves and tap into their personal power and, and thrive and be able to take this horrible thing, which they never wanted to be a part of, and not just reconnect with who they were, but even become a better, stronger person, because like heat forges steel, or like our logo is, it's the phoenix rising from the flames, so that this experience turns you into actually a better, stronger person.
Wow. This is an incredible nonprofit that you've created, Kelly. What are you most proud of in terms of the impact for the women and the survivors that you've interacted with?
So actually what I'm most proud of is that even like we couldn't write the responses that we get from people. They're not quite sure what they're getting into. They're like, okay, that looks like fun. And they come out for a day and like literally we couldn't, they say exactly what I would want them to say and what the goal is. But the fact that genuinely, I'm not twisting anyone's arm to come out. And I tell everyone that this is not my ego trip. I'm not creating this just so that I have something to do. We saw a need, and we want to create something that really helps people, be better, get better, and get back in touch with themselves. And that's literally what people are saying. So some people come out once, and that's all the catalyst that they need, and that's fine. Whatever it takes. And then other people like Andy have found a group that they really connect with and want to keep coming out and challenging themselves. So that's really the biggest thing that I'm proud of.
Incredible impact. And I'm sure there's so many more ripple effects of things that you created that you're not even aware of, because this is really beautiful work. And it has a very, very, very long tail. I call it the long impact and the long ripple effect. Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, definitely. Mark Kageyama has a question. He says, Dr. Kelly, what are your thoughts on giving the diagnosis?
So I guess so. I'm a very practical person, and like what Andy said, that you see some stories that you can't fix, and you just want to make things all better for people,
Right.
but sometimes you don't. But I personally am a big believer that you got to acknowledge what's there. So we got to start with where we're at. So I'm pretty cut and dry and straightforward with, hey, listen, this is what's going on. And I'm going to tell you, this is what we need to find out, and we need to, start moving forward. We can't quite tell you how this is going to work out, and everything. We'll get a much better idea as we see, with different treatments, or as we do different parts of surgery and stuff. So in that way, I mean, it's tough because, like I said, you don't want to see anyone going through it. But those are things that I can't change. And denying them doesn't help us at all. Once we acknowledge what's there, then we can work on the things that we can change, and we can keep on working through.
Sure. And Maria Rouse has a question. She says, are there patients who resist treatment? Have you seen that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So I tell people that my job is to tell them what's medically sound. So given our experience, what we would recommend. And then it's their job to tell me what fits into their life. And I try very hard to create a realistic picture of the side effects. Like Andy said, nobody tells you about reconstruction. And it's true. Once you can't tell anyone ahead of time, you just can't make it realistic enough, right? But I do try and say, hey, for instance, like the deep flap reconstruction, I'm like, this is a big surgery. You're going to be down for like 2 to 3 months, and you're going to walk hunched over. I try and paint a picture. So then some people, you talk about chemotherapy, you talk about, hey, this is what I think we can accomplish. You talk about surgery, if it's going to be curative or palliative. And some people, that's just not in their choice for what they want to go through in life. And as long as people are, and it's their lives, it's their bodies, and as long as people are understanding the choices that they're making, and I'm presenting what research has shown, then that's their choice, and it might not be right. And I think a subset of that is reconstruction. Some people are choosing to go flat because they don't want implants, they don't want the big surgeries and stuff. And for a long time, there was a lot of a stigma associated with that, and a lot of people would discourage others, patients from choosing that. And they'd be like, no, you really want reconstruction and stuff, you'll feel much better. But, again, everyone's an individual, and they have different values and stuff. And as long as we can give them a good idea of the different options and the benefits and consequences, then I think that some people, treatment's not right.
Thanks so much for sharing that. We're getting a lot of questions in. I want to move on to our next question first, and then we'll make sure to get back to some of your guys' other questions. We really appreciate them. So Dr. Kelly, what does this work mean for you with the organization?
So one of the reasons why I chose to do surgical oncology is because I wanted to have a long-term relationship with people, and I wanted to be involved in something that significantly affected their life. So some people are great at like fixing hernias, and they can do like 10 surgeries a day, and they do it really well, and they're very happy with that, and their patients don't want to see them again, and they're fine with, you know, not seeing people again, and that's right for them. For me, it was just the opposite. I wanted to connect with people and really feel like I was, you know, making a difference in their lives. And I can deal with the discussing the diagnosis and the things that don't always work out right, and the heavy stuff. And so this is just an extension of this. This is the extension of, these are the issues that are going to make the huge difference in people's lives once they're past the diagnosis and the initial treatment. And so that's what I'm getting out of it. You know, Andy mentioned that we try and keep each group to like 10. It allows for a safety perspective that we can keep an eye on everyone, and that everything's technically sound. But at the same time, like, I get to actually meet with people and connect with them and hear their stories. And I really like that. And everyone's at a different stage and there for a different reason. Yeah. And can I give a shout out? I saw Tom's on here, and Julie's on here, and Lauren is on here, and they are all board members. Tom's the executive director. Both Julie and Lauren are breast cancer survivors. And then I also saw the daughter of one of my patients on here. So,
oh wow, that's awesome.
For tuning in.
Okay. Raise your hand if you are inspired by Kelly and her vision to help people and not just be a surgeon, because that is incredible. Yes, Kelly, thank you so 100%. Much. And I genuinely wish there were more people in this world like you who sees both the human and the medical side.
Thank you.
Kelly, what's your vision for the future of Move Beyond Surviving?
Yeah, so let me go back a little bit, which I didn't touch on in the first question. So when I started Move Beyond Surviving, I funded it completely myself. And what it was a 5-day, 4-night backpacking whitewater rafting trip, partnered with Outward Bound in North Carolina. And I took 9 survivors out. And it was incredibly powerful. And we repeated it 1 year, and then COVID came and the world got tossed into disarray. And two of the things that became apparent from that trip was, one, I couldn't keep funding it myself. So we needed to become a nonprofit. And kudos to Tom for doing that, because without him, it would have never happened. And 2, that the 5-day trips are phenomenal and immensely transformative. But they're tough, and not everyone's ready for that, and not everyone is willing to take that leap. And so what we needed to do was make trips that were more accessible and babyer steps for people to get them to be more comfortable experiencing that. So my vision is, right now, we've been a nonprofit since the summer, and we're gaining traction, both funding and in involvement and awareness of being available. So we've had like events once every 2 months. I would love to see us be able to do week-long events, 4 times a year, multiple times a year, and then have, weekly like events of varying lengths, 1 day, overnight, that are more local, and just have both the funding and the interest and the awareness that that's out there for people to kind of just try out. Outward Bound has an incredibly successful program for veterans and PTSD and getting them into the wilderness with these, like 4 or 5 day outings. And it would be fabulous to see the same sort of thing happen with this organization. There's another organization called First Descents that's been around for probably 15 years now. And they focus on people under 40 that have had any kind of cancer diagnosis. And it's about getting people out there and moving. And they've had scientific studies showing improvement in depression and self-esteem and body awareness and confidence and stuff. So we're open to any age, any stage. And I think that it's just as important if you're 70 as if you're 30, it's had a different impact on you and getting out and exploring what you're capable of doing.
Yeah. Wow. Incredible vision. And I love that you've got such clarity on it. Thank you, Kelly.
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. Andy, is there anything else that you want to say about your experiences with Move Beyond Surviving?
I think a lot of it is mindset. And I do feel like I made it through my treatments and everything so much better because I continue to run. I continue to go to my spin classes. I continue to do the exercising through all my treatments. And so just like for somebody who has never had cancer and they're making their resolutions right now for 1/1, it's a mindset. And I think that blocks a lot of people from wanting to even come out because they don't think they can do it. They don't think, and the cancer just throws another layer on why you don't think you can do it. And so I will say that these events, Kelly's right, every type of level of activity can have a great experience on these trips. The hiking, when we went hiking down at the gorge, you could go as slow as you needed to go. The wall, you were allowed to go as high as you thought you could go, and you weren't ridiculed for not making it to the top. You were, in fact, in just the opposite, you were cheered from the bottom, like you can do one more, you can do one more. And when they decided to tap out, they were given hugs and cheers and congratulations. But it is a mindset. You have to say to yourself, I have got to move past this. I've got to get out there. So I think a lot of it comes down to making that decision yourself. I was thrilled when this opportunity became available because it's something I love to do. But I can see where, for others, it is a roadblock and they're not sure that they would be able to do it. But just like the next event in a couple of weeks is the rock climbing up in Ohio, and this one is indoors. So where the other two have been outdoor, it's kind of been, you had two options. Whereas this next experience, they have every level. I'm like, 5-year-olds have a level out there. So I'm like, I just encourage everyone to, have faith in yourself and get out there and do it.
Tom says that you led our group on an unmarked, unofficial trail in the forest. She's a rock star.
He started it. So we went down to the gorge, and I think every single person in Tennessee, Kentucky, and Ohio were there to hike that day. It was packed. And so Tom knew of this trail. And we went out. I don't even remember who led it on the way out, but on the way back, it's like, follow the creek. If you follow the creek, you're going to make it back to the vehicle. And so that's what he means by that. I followed the creek.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Andy. And everyone, a reminder that we're here on Showing Up Perspectives on Cancer. And I want to get to a few more questions that people have before we get to our final question of the show. I can't believe we're 50 minutes into the show already. But let me bring Dr. Kelly on for a minute here. one of the questions is, Erin Gibson says, Dr. Kelly, how would you go about motivating seniors battling cancer with the inability to go out and about because of their ability?
That's a really good question. And I say, because each time we do a trip, we take a look at, well, what are the limitations to it? So why might someone not do it? I would stop and I take a look at what's the boundary that you could push. So if you can't leave, can you do, there's the arm pedaling machines, is that accessible? Can you even like walk on a treadmill? Can you get up at all? I would just start taking a look at what the true limitations are and what the kind of surmountable limitations are, and pick something that pushes that boundary.
Thanks for your tip there. Pam says, are there resources that you know of available for cancer patient caregivers?
Yeah, so here in Cincinnati, we have some fantastic community organizations that address different aspects of cancer care. So there's Cancer Support Community that is a resource for all of the kind of the lay resources in the community to help cancer survivors and families. And then we have a group called Cancer Family Care, which is the psychological, psychiatric therapy aspect. So that's professional counseling that's completely around cancer for both family members and caregivers and patients. And then, like Erica has stuff for children, because that's a whole different issue that families deal with. So I would recommend looking, so that's specific for Cincinnati. I would recommend looking in your particular area. And then actually before the show started, we were talking about most programs nowadays have navigators that help patients through the system. So both the navigators and the social workers at different hospitals are very clued into the resources that are available, and they're a great resource. Most programs also have survivorship counselors that talk to patients after they've completed, and they have a lot of resources about the side effects of treatment and what's available to help with that.
Great, really helpful information. And Erin says, brilliant, both are 87 and 84 with walkers. That helps muchly. So thanks for what you said there. So our final question is, let's start with Andy. Andy, what is your one-word perspective on cancer?
One word?
One word.
Survivable.
Survivable. Why survivable?
Once again, I think a lot of life is mindset. And so if you go into it negative, I think you're going to have negative effects or outcomes. If you go in positive, you're going to, I believe you can feed and create positive outcomes. So how you look at things is basically going to be what comes of it. So I want to say survivable. So, I would encourage anyone to go in and fight it and do the best they can, and it can be survivable. So
great. Thank you for sharing that. What about you, Dr. Kelly?
So mine's going to seem a little bit, I guess, pessimistic, but I'm not. I'm going to say insidious. I think that it sneaks up on people of all ages, genders, and, just when you don't need it in your life, and just when it just catches you off guard, which doesn't mean that it's not survivable or treatable. And it's just dastardly.
Yeah. Ooh, that one sat in my bones. Both of your words, survivable and insidious. My word this week is human. And the reason I say that is I just think hearing Kelly and Andy's story, Kelly, I was super moved by, the human side that you're putting on the medical aspects of the work. And then Andy, just the human side of survivorship, right? That it is hard, and that you were able to move past some of your early stage privacy, preferences, and then become more human and connect with others. So my word this week is human.
Human. I love that. My word is going to be together. While none of us wish to have cancer, it brings us together with other amazing human beings from all over the world for conversations like this. So my word is going to be together. Yes.
And Tim, I think that, encompasses, again, what I've seen in the comments here today.
Yeah.
Just a great sense of community and of togetherness. So thank you to everybody who commented and joined us to support Andy and to support Kelly.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Thank you to you both. Is there anything that either of you, Andy or Dr. Kelly, want to say before we wrap up the show? Andy first, I guess.
What is the goat thing that keeps going on in the messages?
Did we show them, Erica?
Yes. Like, what's the goat?
So when Tim asked me to be his co-host, I said yes, and then I got this in the mail, which is like this plastic goat, and when you press it, it starts to scream. I don't know if you can hear that.
Okay.
It brings so much joy, and it is it's kind of what we're known for now, Tim. Screaming goat.
Yes, it's a thing. And I started sending people goats as gifts because it just makes people laugh. So that's
Maybe
the goat
that
thing.
One needs to crinkle and be like a fainting goat.
A fainting goat.
Yep. And I think I also love it because goats also stands for that, the hip cool word was the greatest of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So there's like a double entente on it. And I think each of you are the greatest of all time. And
Definitely.
The goats. Yeah. Tim has really brought me a lot of joy with this.
Anything
else you want to say, Andy or Dr. Kelly? Or
that
both?
was it. Just reading the comments, I'm like, what's the goat?
Yeah, it's sweeping the nation. It's sweeping the nation.
Between goat comments and what was the other conversation?
Cheesecake.
The cheesecake conversation.
Yeah.
Sweet potato cheesecake.
Yep.
Yeah. Cancer, sweet potato cheesecake, and goats all together. Yes. All right. Well, thank you both for being on the show. We so appreciate you for showing up and sharing your stories and perspectives.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andy and Kelly. You've been a gift.
Guys, have a good.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
Oh, Tim, that one hit me home, hit me here. Certainly as a breast cancer survivor myself, what a great way to kick off 2023. It really just spoke to me about, we're all in this together and there is great people in the world. That is what I love starting this year off with.
Oh, definitely. I love that as well. And I love that we both have our own different perspectives and each, show resonates in a different way with both of us. And as well with all the people that show up in the audience every week. So thank all of you who who show up with your perspectives in the comments and your connections to cancer. We appreciate you sharing as well.
Yeah. We're excited to kick off this year. We will see everybody next week. Oh, talk to you, Tim, do you want to talk about guests?
Should we?
Yeah, sure. Let's invite people to send us more guests for 2023.
Yes, come be a guest. Come be a guest. Please. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, we would love to have you. So if you'd like to be a guest, if you're a cancer patient, survivor, supporter, you have some connection to cancer, you're an author, you're a medical professional, you are connected to a nonprofit organization, you're a director of one, you're on a board of one, you are a participant in an organization of one. That's what happens when we go 1 minute over. I start wobbling my words. That doesn't make sense. Erica, I don't know what I'm saying anymore.
It's all good. We're going to see everybody next week. We're going to have a great show, and we're going to continue this amazing 2023.
That's what we're going to do. And you know what we're going to do now?
We're going to dance.
We are going to dance. As soon as I can find the video. Here we go. Cue music.